Hey YouTube, hey subscribers, thanks for tuning in. If you're ever looking for a creative way to waste your own time, attempt to use words and sentences and paragraphs and phrases with a narcissist. It doesn't matter what language you speak, just the simple act or the simple usage of words with a narcissist will be a waste of time in and of itself. I'm reading this book called The Heart of Change by John P. Kotter, and it talks all about organizational change, how that comes to be, the different things that need to happen, the different things that need to get out of the way. In this particular chapter, it's talking about the different types of barriers that have to be moved out of the way in order for change to take place. And this part stuck out to me in particular, called Removing the Boss Barrier. And it says, often the single biggest obstacle is a boss, an immediate manager or someone higher in the hierarchy, a first-line supervisor or an executive vice president. Subordinates see the vision and want to help, but are effectively shut down. The supervisor's words, actions, or even subtle vibrations say, this change is stupid. The underlings, not being fools, either give up or spend an inordinate amount of time trying to maneuver around the barrier. The boss barrier is typically handled in one of three ways. We ignore the issue, we send the obstacle to a short training course, or, rarely, we try to fire, demote, or transfer the person. None of these are great solutions. The first for obvious reasons, the second because it usually has little effect, and the third because, if not handled well, fear will escalate and become a disempowering force itself. In cases of highly successful change, people begin by confronting the issue. In order to be fair, they explain the situation to the individual creating the problem. When explaining fails, as it often does, they try more creative solutions. Now, I've done several videos on narcissistic bosses, so I'm actually not going to go off on the boss element of this particular excerpt. What I really want to focus on is that very last sentence that is highlighted. When explaining fails, as it often does, they try more creative solutions. And I had to actually put the book down and just kind of meditate on this for like an hour, because my thought and the recurring thought that I kept asking myself was, why would a company or business be comfortable having someone in a position of power and decision-making authority who can't have things explained to them? Words are like the last resort. Words are so fundamental. They're so elemental. They're so basic. And so for words not to have an effect on someone, that means that the only way you're ever going to be able to get that person's attention is by taking some sort of action. Now, that might seem okay at first, but when you really think about it, it's not a normal way of being between two people who speak the same language and who are of the same age and reasonably same intellect. So let's go back in time a bit. At one point in time, we were babies and we didn't have words. We had sounds and grunts, but all we really had were feelings and emotions to express how we felt. And our parents and those around us had to interpret how we felt because we could not use words. So I guess when I say words are basic, I guess what I really mean is that they're more advanced, so words take the place of all the actions. In other words, once we started to master words, we didn't have to grunt and strain and throw things to tell mommy that we were hungry anymore. We could just say, Mommy, I'm hungry, or Daddy, I'm hungry. We didn't have to resort to such primitive expressions in order to gain an understanding from those that are around us. So when you're with narcissists, it's almost like you do have to roll back and you have to become primitive in order to be understood. This is not okay for two people or groups of people who all speak the same language and who grew up speaking the same language and who are perfectly fluent in the language that they speak. In reality, a person who does not respond to words, you're basically now having to learn how to speak in a different language. So if you say something as very simple as, when you do this, it hurts my feelings, or when you do this, it hurts, or when you expressing a need, a preference, and it falls on deaf ears, and you are always having to resort to primitive interpretations and actions in order for this person to understand, that's someone you don't need to deal with because you don't know the level of the deficiency. You don't know how deep the lack of understanding or lack of willingness to understand goes. And what does that mean if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're really in danger or in trouble? What is triggering in your brain, whether you realize it or not, is a very primitive fight or flight response that says, this person doesn't understand me. So if I were ever in danger, they probably couldn't help me because they don't understand what I need. They don't understand what I'm asking them. They don't understand what I'm telling them. And to a certain degree, it seems willful. So instinctually, you don't feel safe around this person because you know that the most basic form of expression, words, speaking, don't work with this person. So unless you've mastered that secondary language to communicate with them, you are inherently in danger because this person doesn't understand you or doesn't want to understand you. It would have to lead to the question, why? I just did a video called Narcissism in Sales where I told the story of how I used to work for Victoria's Secret, and when we were selling the credit card, we had to hear 3 no's from the customer before we could lay off, basically. And it goes right along with this video. Words don't work with narcissists. So if I offer this credit card to you, and you decline, no, thank you. Maybe because you already have credit cards. Maybe because you have money. Maybe because you don't have money. Maybe because you don't want credit cards. Maybe because you have a good credit score. You want to keep it that way. Maybe you have a bad credit score and you know you'll get declined. Whatever the reason behind your no, that should be good enough. But words don't work with narcissists. So when I hear your no, I'm supposed to not process it, kick it out, and come at it from a different angle. But ma'am, it looks like you shop here often. Did you know that we'll send you coupons in the mail every single month that are exclusive to card holders only? Oh, that sounds good, but no thank you, sweetie. I'm supposed to keep going until I've heard you tell me no in 3 different ways. So words don't work with narcissists. Why? Because narcissists have an agenda. They have something that they're trying to accomplish. So to them, your words are obstacles. To them, your words are barriers to their goals, to their objectives. And that is a dangerous person, someone who doesn't honor what you say, who doesn't hear what you say, who doesn't respect what you say, who doesn't listen to what you say. It's all connected. All of this stuff is tied in and connected to the exact same thing. They don't listen when you speak. How many of you had a friend, family member, spouse, or a romantic partner who you told them something so many different times in so many different ways, and it just never got in, and then you finally left, and that person had like a aha moment, like, wow, he or she told me this a million different times and I just never listened. It doesn't register. Don't interact or entangle your lives with anyone who your words don't register with them, because that means that very important information you might be trying to communicate with them is not getting through. They don't hear it. They don't regard it as important. It doesn't register. But pay careful attention if they are able to register other people's words. If certain people's words register and carry heavy weight, if some people's words play over and over and over in their minds again and they can't let it go, they can't get off it. But the things that you say to them mean nothing. Some of you maybe have even tried experiments where you just throw out random nonsensical statements just to see if it even sticks, and it doesn't hit anywhere. That's a person who's not plugged into life. That's a person who's not checked in. They're not present. It's almost like a car with no driver. And how dangerous is a car with no driver? It's an unguided missile. So you cannot get too heavily involved with people who don't listen to what you say. This kind of goes back to earlier videos that I've done where narcissists often will tell you the same stories over and over and over again. I believe that is related to this. The reason they tell you the same stories over and over again is that their own words don't even register with them. Now, how dangerous is that? They don't even pay attention to what they say. So it makes you wonder, what are they paying attention to? What are they focused on? If words don't work, they don't hear your words, they don't hear their own words, what are they paying attention to? Everyone has attention in them. Attention is going somewhere at all times. So if they're not listening to you, to themselves, to their environment, what are they listening to? It makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder. What are narcissists paying attention to, and what are they listening to? What's driving them? What's fueling these people? It amazes me how many businesses will take in all this survey data. Customers will give them feedback, and they just completely ignore it. And then one day when the business finally goes belly up and someone does some research on the company, all the data was there the whole time. All the information was there in all kinds of different ways, but it's not regarded. Don't deal with, interact with, devote time or give time to entities or people who don't listen and who words don't work with. And I'll end on this final point. I think one of the most detrimental things that movies and the entertainment media has ever done was fill those of us who aren't suffering with narcissism with the false impression that if you just put together the right combination of words, if you just find a way to say it, if you say it romantically or poetically or creatively, whatever it is, if you just find a way to say it, it'll register and it'll cause change within the person. It'll cause an aha moment. My personal theory is that aha moments are only possible with people whose minds have not been completely shut off and sealed off. Once your mind is shut off and sealed off, aha moments are not possible. And when it comes to narcissists, those minds are hardened up. They're firm. So you're not going to have that aha moment. It's like they had the ability to totally override learning. And I just think that's fascinating. I think that's worthy of study. They had the ability to pick and choose what their brain holds on to. I think it's amazing. I don't know if it's conscious. If it is conscious, it's really scary. But it might be more subconscious than conscious. But at any rate, they have the ability to not learn from things that they've seen over and over again and heard over and over again. And I think that that's unnerving and very disturbing, because it literally means that you could spend years with this person and get nowhere and remain in the same place because learning is not taking place. It seems that narcissists have the ability to take in data and dismiss it. Narcissists have the ability to maintain the exact same mental state and information levels at all time without increasing it or decreasing it. It's stagnant, and it's part of the reason that words don't work. So be very careful with anyone who can't take simple explanations. Now, I will say that everyone is not necessarily good at expressing themselves, but what you want to look for is a person who will say to you, I really don't understand what you're trying to tell me. Please keep going. Keep explaining. Use an analogy. Use a metaphor. But find a way. If someone is willing to hear you out and is trying to understand you, do them that favor of trying to explain it. But if you're met with someone who won't let you explain, or who cuts you off, or who interrupts you, or starts getting defensive before you can even finish your thought, that's someone who you probably need to dismiss from your life sooner than later, because you're not going to get anywhere. And it's not fun to always have to go into the primitive parts of your brain and, draw it on a cave wall and act it out so they'll understand. That's what you do for children, because children don't understand language yet. They don't get it, but they start to understand. And the more they understand, the more they use it. Avoid those who words don't work on. They're dangerous people, and you're not going to get very far with them. And typically, these are also people who have to be taken all the way up to the limit of something before they learn from the consequences of it. They have to experience the absolute limit. Take care, everybody. I hope you're all doing well, and I grant you the permission to exist. Bye-bye.